Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Horns Report here on KXAN. Plus, I'm your host, Billy Gates, and with me to talk about the college football playoff field announcement, which Texas was not a part of, is KXAN sports reporter and anchor Noah Gross. And Noah, just like you and I, the rest of the country, football fans, casual fans in general, watch the CFP announcement today. Texas was not selected for the 12-team field. It would have been the third consecutive season the Longhorns had been part of a national title discussion, but they finished number 13 in the rankings. They don't make it. Just kind of give me your thoughts on what you think. Also, we're both wearing white shirts today, so that's cool.
Day, man.
That is kind of that kind of day. So just kind of give me your thoughts on how you thought the whole selection process sort of went down.
Yeah, it made sense. I do think Miami getting in was the right decision. And the committee's explanation kind of did actually almost make sense to me, despite what everybody else is saying as far as why Miami was lower than Notre Dame the last couple weeks. But then when BYU loses, Miami jumps BYU and then also jump Notre Dame as well. So that makes sense to me. As far as Texas, I have been of the mindset since they beat A&M that maybe they should be in the college football playoff, but we've talked about that ad nauseum. For this Texas team, I think they land in a good bowl game. It's against a team that is going to look, in my opinion, as far as we know, largely like the team that played this year. I think the age of total complete opt-outs is maybe a bit different now than it was a couple of years ago. So I think Michigan's going to have their quarterback, Bryce Underwood, who just finished his freshman season. Texas will presumably have Arch Manning as well. So this could look similar to what these two teams looked like this year as well, and I think it'll be an interesting Citrus Bowl down in Orlando.
Yeah, and we'll get to that here in a second. Let's just go over the part of the CFP rankings here. I could fit 14 of them here on the screen. So your top 10 teams here, they're going to the CFP in various sort of forms. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech all receive byes to the quarterfinal bowl games. And then Oregon there at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Texas A&M at 7, Oklahoma at 8, Alabama at 9, Miami at 10. They're going to play in the first round. Those were all, I believe, at-large bids other than Texas's Big 12 title, Texas Tech's Big 12 title, which knocks BYU out of the conversation. Texas is there at 13, Vanderbilt at 14. The biggest thing, though, Noah, is what the whole country's talking about is Notre Dame being left out. They're not part of a conference. They sort of have an advantage over everybody that they don't have to play this conference title game. There's a lot of folks that don't really agree with that. I mean, if you're Notre Dame's shoes, you got to feel pretty sour about how things turned out.
Yes, but at the end of the day, you choose your own schedule at Notre Dame, and you didn't choose a schedule that was difficult enough. And I know that's kind of talking out of both sides of the committee's mouth, because then Texas, for example, chose a very difficult schedule and then didn't get rewarded for it when they lost to Ohio State. I know the committee says it was the Florida game, which is true. If Texas beat Florida, they'd be in the CFP, but also if they didn't play Ohio State, they'd probably be there as well. So this Notre Dame team, I don't think they had any business being in the college football playoff. Are they one of the 12 best teams in the country? Perhaps, but that's not what this is right now.
Right.
I think if Texas and Notre Dame played out on a neutral field, Texas would be favored, and they're below them in the rankings. Would Notre Dame be favored if they faced the two Group of 5 teams that went in? Sure. Every other team in the college football playoff would against JMU and Tulane. So I'm cool with Notre Dame not being in and Miami being in over them because, the committee was saying how similar everything was for both of those teams. And it's oh, man, only if we knew which team was better than they actually played each other in Miami.
Right.
So I'm totally cool with the decision.
Yeah. With me, so Alabama getting in at 9, they kind of get trucked in the SEC title game by Georgia, right? They stay in the mix. They end up making the field. BYU gets trucked by Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game. They've been saying all along that teams aren't going to get penalized by playing in their conference title games, by earning that right. Well, it seemed to me that they punished BYU for losing to Texas Tech. I know the situation might be a little bit different because it's the second time BYU had lost to Texas Tech this season, but I don't know. To me, if we're going to do all this weekly ranking reveal and stuff like that, you should probably be consistent with how you're viewing teams week to week, or maybe they do this next season where they just release one set of rankings at the end when all of the data is compiled, when the rankings actually matter. I mean, Noah, like from your standpoint, like would you support something like the committee just releasing the rankings one time on selection day, rolling them out and say, here are the matchups?
No, because I want transparency throughout the process. Sure. And also they would never do that because of because
TV, right?
Yeah, the big
but still
cinema that is every single week.
In a perfect world, though, I mean, there's a lot of people clamoring about the whole weekly release and how the CFP did the selection committee did this to themselves by ranking Notre Dame above Miami essentially the entire time. And then when the final rankings came, oh, Miami beat Notre Dame in the first game of the season. Miami should be above Notre Dame. Miami gets in the playoff. Notre Dame doesn't.
Yeah, but I do understand what they were saying. And
yeah.
It's kind of a circuitous way of talking about
sure.
that BYU was above Miami but not above Notre Dame. But then once
right.
BYU lost, and it's not just that they lost, they got rocked twice by Texas Tech, by far the best team they played this year. So
yeah.
Again, if BYU beat even a decent team in non-conference schedule, like, I don't know, a decent ACC squad or something
sure.
like that, maybe they're in the conversation, but I think they have no business being in there because the only two real big challenges they had this year, especially away from home, they got embarrassed in. So I'm fine with them not being in either.
Sure. It's just it's tough. It's tough for fan bases like Vanderbilt too. You get so close with Diego Pavia, kind of like you're the savior of your program. Actually, probably Clark Lee would fit more of that bill. But anyway, like a starving fan base like Vanderbilt, maybe that's something they're able to kind of build upon, but they just weren't quite good enough either. So let's just go to our monitor here to check out the first round matchups of the CFP before we get to Texas bowl game here. Alabama's going to play at Oklahoma on December 19th at 7. And Miami is going to take on Texas A&M there in College Station, College Field. That game's going to be rocking. That's an 11 a.m. start on December 20th. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Kyle Field's going to be pretty nuts. 2:30 p.m. December 20th, Tulane takes on Ole Miss. Tulane got in because they won the American Conference. We'll get to that in a second. And then James Madison, the Sun Belt winners, take on Oregon at 6:30 on December 20th in the final first round matchup. Noah, 2 Group of 5 conference champions got in because the ACC conference champion Duke was so bad. Finished season 8-5. Somehow, tiebreaker scenario, get into the ACC title game. Miami doesn't, but yet Miami still gets into the CFP. It's confusing to folks that don't really know the insides and outs here. How do you feel about 2 Group of 5 teams getting in when the system was really only made for one to get in?
I'm fine with it because the ACC, Duke has 5 losses. I mean, that's, at some point you have to draw the line. And also, I'm tired of everybody saying that they got to expand. I don't feel bad for these teams that didn't make it in the 12-team format. When it was 4 teams, I would feel bad. Florida State was unbeaten and didn't make it. That would never happen again. If there's an undefeated team, they're going to be in the playoff no matter what happens with an injured player or a coach leaving or something like that. So I don't feel bad for these teams. All the teams that missed out had one game on their schedule that either was a bad loss or it was a loss that wasn't close or something like that. Like Texas, obviously, the Florida game. BYU, you play Tech better. Maybe it's an interesting discussion then. Notre Dame beat Miami, and you're in. So I don't feel bad about that. As far as the 2 Group of 5 teams coming in, I don't really think that's that major an issue either because, the ACC was so bad this year. I mean, I had really high hopes for that Clemson team, and they just totally cratered. Right. So I think it's fine. I mean, none of the teams to me that would have got in over those Group of 5 teams were terribly deserving, the exception of maybe Texas. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a mouthpiece for the committee right now.
You are kind of blowing their horn for them. That's okay. Hey, we'll have opinions, right?
Yeah.
So we heard from Coach Steve Sarkisian. Talk about the CFP, talk about the Citrus Bowl, which we'll get to in a second. He met with reporters via Zoom earlier today. We're recording this on a Sunday. It was a press conference that the Citrus Bowl folks set up. Sharon Moore was also in it, the Michigan head coach. But here's a little bit from Steve about dealing with the disappointment of not making the CFP, yet getting ready for a bowl game. So here's Steve.
I think there's obviously a level of disappointment of not making the CFP. I thought that we put a body of work on the field. We stated our case. They made their decisions of who they felt was worthy and deserving of being the 12 teams to play in that tournament. And you have to respect that. This is an opportunity to play another game against a really good team in a great game, a great bowl game, and we're going to cherish it. We're going to put our best foot forward and try to go win this game.
So there you have it. He's obviously, there is a level of disappointment not making the college football playoff. You don't get a shot at the national title. That's stuff you work for, the entire season. However, they're going to play a really good team in Michigan. They're going to be in a nice bowl. It's the top bowl game for the SEC that's not part of the CFP. Going to be a New Year's Eve day game there in Orlando. That's kind of the right attitude to have. You got to, you're going to benefit with the practices, right? That's really the big benefit of the bowl game is you get to be able to practice pretty much all month of December. You can get your younger players some reps. You can get them a little more prepared for next season, and then you go play the bowl game. Noah, it seems like the bowl game system now with the playoffs is kind of beneath some teams. Do you kind of see this trend sort of continuing a little bit?
To an extent, maybe beneath some players who are NFL bound or other school bound, but I think people are seeing the benefits of it. And for this Texas team, obviously they wanted to make the playoff, and last year Sark was calling the problems they were dealing with champagne problems. But think about the difference in looking forward to the next year from the 2024 to 2025 season to now to 2026, right? Last year at this time, Sark was just saying they were, just came off an SEC championship game, and during that week of prep for the SEC championship game was National Signing Day. So there was a lot going on for them. After that, then they were getting ready for the college football playoff, which they then played for more weeks, and you can't really start in the portal totally because you're still playing. Meanwhile, you're losing players and coaches and everything like that. So there's so much going on, and you so much you have to deal with. Now you get the traditional bowl experience, might be a bit different with some opt-outs and things like that, but you get more of that bowl experience of all this leads into one game, and that's it. You're done after that. So he was kind of saying that that's a positive thing. They get these practices in, they get the early enrollees and things like that. So it kind of sets you forward for next season, I think, a bit more than what everything was last year. And again, they would have preferred to be the playoff, of course, but this, I think, does something different for a team that's the only team in the country to have made the playoff the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they will be playing in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. A little confusing. It's not the Cheez-It Bowl like other folks have been calling it. Let's bring up our full screen here. It is number 13, Texas, versus number 18, Michigan. It's going to be a 2 p.m. Central Time kick. December 31st, so New Year's Eve day at Camping World Stadium there in Orlando, Florida. Texas finished 6-2 in the SEC, and Michigan finished 7-2 in the Big Ten. These two teams met, these two programs, not the actual teams, but they met early in the season in 2024. Texas goes up to the Big House, kind of thumps on Michigan a little bit. So maybe there's a little bit of sort of redemption for the guys that are still in Wolverine uniforms that face Texas. But this should still be pretty good ball game, even though it is an exhibition technically. There could be some opt-outs. Both sides could be losing some players. But right now, on December, 7th, the rosters are whole. So theoretically, on paper right now, the game should be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm interested in the game. I think it'll be good. And even if on the Texas perspective, if you have guys that do opt out, you think, I can't imagine Michael Taft not wanting to suit up one more time, but Michael Taft, Anthony Hill, some of these veterans, if there's a player that might hit the transfer portal, somebody like that, that probably stinks. You want to see that player one more time, but also it's your chance to see, let's say, I think Jack Andrews is going to play in the game, but let's say Jack Andrews doesn't for some reason. You get to see more of Parker Washington, so guys in the future. Who was the tight end that scored the touchdown against A&M?
Nick Townsend.
Yeah.
Nick Townsend, yeah.
Nick Townsend as well. If Anthony Hill doesn't play, you get to see more of LaFau in that position. Ty Anthony Smith getting more playing time as well. So it kind of opens the door for that. So as long as it's not unbelievably major, and it's a couple players. I
Sure.
think that'll be an interesting thing for fans to look forward to for the next year.
Yeah, and when we got to this playoff system, right? Like we kind of figured the traditional bowl system would kind of fall out of favor a little bit. You've got 3 teams already, albeit different circumstances, that have already issued a just carte blanche decline for any bowl. I know it's a fun word. Any bowl invitation they're gonna decline, Notre Dame included. That kind of feels like sour grapes a little bit, but it's the decision they want to make as an athletic department. They're entitled to that. Iowa State and Kansas State of the Big 12 both have also declined any bowl invitations. However, they've had recent coaching changes, and apparently those programs just didn't feel like they could get new folks in time in order to lead bowl practices and run up to a bowl game. Those schools, the Cyclones and the Wildcats, are getting fined $500,000 by the Big 12 for not fulfilling bowl obligations. That's a bummer, but if we're looking at it from the Big 12's perspective, you need to fulfill those contractual obligations with the bowls. But on the other hand, the teams that have lost their head coaches, that's tough, man. That's tough.
$500,000 a lot. I mean, it's an interesting schedule right now. I feel for all these teams with the transfer portal and National Signing Day and everything happening right around early December when all this is getting decided. It's just something needs to change because it's not in a good space right now as far as the college football schedule.
Yeah. And just to close the loop, Iowa State lost their head coach, Matt Campbell, to Penn State. It took a long time to hire their next head coach after they fired James Franklin earlier in the season. And Kansas State is bringing back former quarterback Colin Klein, who has been the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. And I did not check if he was going to be with A&M for the remainder of their playoff run. Let's see. I should have checked that earlier, but hey. So he may or may not be there, but it's a cool experience, kind of chance for him to go back to his old stomping grounds, lead that program. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, just no bowl game for them, and you've seen that with years past. And some of these new coaches getting in and trying to take over as soon as possible. Obviously, it's different for some of these schools that didn't make bowl games. You think James Franklin, Virginia Tech, it's almost a benefit at that point, and then you don't get fined anyway. So, yeah, some of these better programs, something they got to deal with, including Colin Klein and Kansas State.
Alrighty. Well, I think we've pretty much said everything we need to say on the CFP. We're going to have another Horns Report on Monday with Roger Wallace coming back, talk about some other UT sports along with football. The volleyball team's doing very well here recently in their NCAA tournament run. Women's basketball in full swing, men's basketball in full swing. So we'll have that later on in the week with Roger. But for this special edition of the Horns Report, for Noah Gross, I'm Billy Gates. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again very soon.